Hey, what's happening? It's DJ Big Wiz here at the Rainbow from NAMM 2012 with Scratchworks, my man Gizmo. We're going to talk to you all about the new Rane mixers, the 61 and the 62. And the differences between not only them, but say maybe the 57 and 68. They're both two-channel mixers. The 62 has two sound cards in it, so two DJs can hook up their laptops at the same time and rock off this. The 61 only has one sound card in it, like the 57, so you can only hook one laptop in it. These are both USB 2. The 57 is USB 1. The 57 has a mic input. The 61 has a mic line input. So that's one difference between the 61 and the 57. Now just to focus on the 61 for a minute, a lot of people are going to try to compare the 61 as an update for the 57, and you immediately see it has no control surface. It also doesn't have built-in effects into the mixer like the 57, so you may think, well, it's not even as good, but that's not necessarily true. This is going to be a little cheaper than the 57. So with the money you save, you can buy a MIDI controller, get a pair of dicers. Now you got your control. You have your USB 2, you have a line option on the mic. And if you're worried about the effects, there's still an effects section. You have your analog insert, which is for your effects loop. So you can hook up like a Chaos Pad or whatever you want. And then you also have the USB insert button here. And you have the USB insert on both mixers. What that does, when you press the USB insert button, it routes the audio to the DJ effects, the software effects in Scratch Live. So even though you don't have effects built in, now you have 6 stackable effects you can use, as opposed to 2 effects in the 57. So you really do have a better effects option, and you have the extra money in the option to choose whatever MIDI control you want. So it really is a lot better than the 57 in that aspect. Another thing, you have this USB aux channel on both the mixers, the 61 and 62. What that is, that's a dedicated channel for the SP6 sample. So you no longer have to choose if it's going to be on the left deck, right deck, the master, or worry about it cutting off, or level dipping. It has its own placement. On the 61, you have a level for it, and you have a flex effects button, which routes the SP6 sample into the effects section. Now on the 62, you have your level knob, you have your flex effects button, but you also have a dedicated filter for the sample. You have a low pass, high pass filter for the SP6. So that's another difference that the other two mixers don't have, the 68 and 57. Now, there's only 2 channels, but say we have 2 laptops hooked up to the 62. The way you switch between the two is a lot easier than the 68. On your input selector at the top, you have a choice between USB-A, phono, CD, or USB-B. Anytime I want it to be on USB-A, you just turn these to USB-A. If I want to switch it over to control the other laptop, you just turn it over there. It's that simple. If I have my laptop on USB-A, Giz has his on B, set mine to A, his to B. Now I'm playing on this channel off of my laptop, he's playing on his laptop on this channel. Now if you're wondering like, well, what are the cue points of the trigger? Well, the 5 on this side control my laptop, the 5 on this side control his. So we can both be playing at the same time, triggering cues at the same time from different laptops. Now the SP6, you know, there's 6 buttons to control the SP6. And the SP6 player has 6 sample slots, so whose laptop would it be controlling then? Well, you have these buttons at the top, the SP6 is assigned. And what it is, we're both playing, we both have our computers open. If I want to trigger my SP6, I'll press my button, and this will turn green, because the color for USB-A is green, the color for USB-B is orange. So when this is lit up green, and this is dim, I know the SP6 is controlling my sample player. When Giz wants to switch over, he just presses his button, it turns mine off, switches it to his, this turns orange, now the SP6 buttons are controlling his sample. So we can still, you know, I still have my filter, and the effects can be applied to everything, and that's how that changeover and everything goes. One thing the 62 has that the 61 doesn't is, well, the control surface, obviously, the samples, the cue points, and you have all your loop controls here. You have your auto loops, manual loops, loop rolls, everything. And there's a color coding to this. So a lot of people saw the 68, and even these, since we talked about it the other day, released them, and people are like, why is it so colorful? Why did y'all put all the colors? Well, it wasn't just because Rane is like a festive company. I mean, yeah, they are happy, but you know, it's informative. It gives you visual information to what's going on. So if you're in a dark club and you can't really read what's happening, you can visually know what's going on. So the loop area, for instance, you have one loop button that switches between auto loops and manual loops, and it'll switch between green and orange. So when it's green, you can look at the green stripe on this side. When it's orange, look at the orange stripe on that side, and I can tell what this one button does in either mode. So it lets you know what's happening. So you know, it's pretty easy to read and figure out how that works. The effects engine on the 62 was taken, you know, it's a similar engine to the 68, but it's improved a lot. So you still have your 6 built-in effects, but you have a lot more control over the effects now. You can go into your setup screen, into your hardware tab, and there's an effects tab now. If you open that effects tab, you can choose 4 different filter types for the built-in effect. You can choose 2 different flanger types. You can choose 4 different echo types, and you can even control how the filters sound. So for people who didn't like the filter sound and say the flanger on the 68, they're like, well, I like the way the Pioneer sounds better. I like their filter better. Well, now you can make it sound like that, or you can make it sound like the Rane filter, or anywhere in between. There's a slider. You can either make a positive or negative feedback. So, and anywhere in between there. So you have a lot more control over that. A lot of the effects have been revoiced, which means that, well, they've gone in and redone them to make them sound a little better, work a little better. With the echoes, you have a choice now of high-pass echoes also. You have a regular high-pass echo and a high-pass hold echo. The hold echo is just going to hold that echo forever until you drop the depth, the level depth down. And if anybody doesn't know what a high-pass filter is, or a low-pass filter, it's a filter, a high-pass, for instance, only passes the high frequencies through. So you won't hear the low frequencies, unless the high frequencies pass. A low-pass filter lets the low frequencies pass through. So, and you can adjust in the echo, if you choose a high-pass echo, how quickly that filter kicks in. So if you set it all the way to the right, it's going to echo once, and then after that, it's going to be just the higher frequencies. It can even be kind of hard to hear because it's just so high. If you scale it down like really far the other way, it's going to have to echo a long time, and each time it's just going to get a little more, a little more, a little more of that low end out here. But you have, again, a control in your setup screen now to adjust that. You also have your USB insert, which we told you, like just like on the 61, that will route the DJ software effects in Scratch Live to the mixer. The one thing I didn't mention before, both of these mixers, normally in Scratch Live, the DJ effects plug-in, the effects are pre-fader, which means if I have a delay or a reverb going and I take my channel out, that delay cuts out as well. I won't hear that echo fade out. But with the 68, the 61, and the 62, you can set the DJ effects up to be post-fader. So now my echo, my reverb will keep going. Also, since it's post-fader now, one thing that you can do is, if I'm playing a real record, or say I have a sampler or something else going into the mixer to one of the channels, I can use the DJ software effects in Scratch Live to affect that as well now, post-fader. So it's a lot more flexible. You can also choose different sources that are going to dictate what BPM, or how the BPM is being calculated. When you load a track, it will default to read the BPM tag on your track in Scratch Live. You can also tap in a parameter and it'll read like the analog tapping. You can also switch it to follow USB A or USB B, which can send or read a MIDI clock from another source. So say I have like Scratch Live on USB A and I'm running Ableton Live on USB B, then I can switch it to read the incoming signal from B and have the BPM follow whatever's going on in my Ableton Live session. Or if I have a MPC sequencer running in, I can do that. And the way you switch between them is you hold down the tab button and you move the joystick. And right by where it shows you the BPM readout, you'll either get an S, an asterisk, an A, or a B. When it's S, it's following Serato. When it's an asterisk, it's following the analog input. When it's A, it's following the signal. When USB A or B, it's following B. So again, a lot more, well thought out and flexible. Other differences. Let me see. Well, on the back of the 68, not the 68, the 62, you have your XLRs, balanced TRS quarters, and RCA outs. On the 61, you don't have the XLRs, but you still have balanced TRS quarter-inch outs, so which is still going to be really good. There's one thing I really like. It's kind of late in the game, but it's still valid. Anybody watching this has been DJing for a long time, and I don't mean like, yeah, back in the day in 2005. I mean when you were getting your fingers dirty carrying crates. This isn't really a feature, but it's just a really cool thing. On your ground post knob, it doesn't fall off now. It won't fall off. So when you're at the club and it's really dark and you only have this much room between your mixer and the wall and you drop it, it's like, oh man, I can't find it. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So yeah, I know a lot of guys like myself will appreciate that. And a few other differences. The way you control your channel curves on the 61 are on top. You have the little sliders up here to control the curve. You have your reverse buttons or your hamster switches, same thing. And a channel swap. What the channel swap does, it switches these two. So whatever's playing on this deck is now controlled on this fader. So you can customize it however you want. Have these switches, have one hamster, one not, crossfader, hamster, adjust the curves, however you want to set it up. On the 62, you do that on the front of the mixer. All those controls are down here. So, and those are the main differences. The cue system on both mixers is a split cue. So it'll cue normally unless you press a button, and then split cue since what you're cueing to the left side of your headphones and what you're actually playing or playing out to the crowd to the right side of your headphones. And you can use the hand to go in between the two and make one louder, one softer, and then you have your volume to do that as well. Both mixers are completely MIDI mappable. If you go into your setup screen, your hardware tab, there's a checkbox that'll say something to the effect, open the mixer up to being MIDI mappable, and then everything can be assigned to MIDI. So that's another thing. The 61 has that as well. So again, way more powerful than the 57. So if you're looking at this to replace your 57 and you're down there because it doesn't have all the things you think it should have, now you know it's actually a good choice, and it's going to be cheaper. So, and of course they all have the Rane legendary quality, sound quality, build quality, support. So this mixer is cheaper in price only. It's exactly built the same. You know, they didn't skip on the parts. It just doesn't have all the extra stuff, so they can lower the price more. This actually fills a couple of different needs. For the DJ that's kind of starting out, a bit in the game for a little while, wants to step his game up and get to the pro audio world, get some like real top level pro equipment. They can't really afford a 68 or 62. Now there's something a little closer to his price range that still gives him this quality. You know, it's like a good start off mixer. But you also have people that, you know what, I want a good mixer, but I don't need all the extra stuff. I just want to spend 2 records and that's it. I don't need samples, cue points, loops, filters, but I don't want to pay $1,000 for all the stuff I'm not using. Here you go, you got your top quality mixer without all the extras. So this, I think out of the two, this was actually a lot more versatile just because of how you custom. So that's the rundown on Rane's new mixers. And if you want to see more, hear more, stay tuned to Scratchworks. They're gonna have all the updates, all the info like they always do on everything. It's Big Wiz, Rane, NAMM Show. Peace.